Hello and welcome to The Craft and Calling. I am your host, Christine Marie, and today we are talking about the systems and processes necessary to really grow our business and not even grow the business so much as first get it to a good place so that we're ready for the growth. So often we look to grow before we actually have the footing and the foundation necessary upon which to build. And I could think of no one better than Mike Abramowitz. Thank you so much for joining us here today. You are the co-founder of Better Than Rich, and you really help businesses get to that point to be able to cut back the chaos, get their time back, and be able to scale from there. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me, but I gotta correct you. When you said you could think of no one better, I could think of like at least like a couple hundred people better. I think I'm just available. So thanks for inviting me to be here. Um, so I'm
That's
just
so
teasing, but
funny.
yeah, super excited to be here and be able to add value and whatever wherever the conversation goes, I'm open book. So you ask the
Mm.
question, I'll just kind of riff on what's true to me and what's authentic and what is happening in my business right now and what happens in the other businesses that our company supports.
Yeah, yeah, and Mike, I really love the way that you will go about making the transformation in these businesses because what you do is you get so personal with them. A lot of agencies, a lot of businesses operate at such a place where it's like, here's our blueprint. Everybody go through the blueprint and this is what we do. And some systems can be done that way, but the way you all are so intentional with every single client you all support to the point of I'm sure not every business you do this, but to the point of going to meet with them in person for 48 hours and implementing systems in real time, that is so impactful. And so I want to talk today because when we hear systems and processes, I know a lot of folks who maybe have more of the creative mind, or folks specifically like my dad who are experts at their craft. The craftsmanship hasn't been coexisting with the business mind, and so it's kind of like the integration of the two. I'd love for us to start on the foundational level. What are those foundational systems for folks who are looking to ensure that their foundation is strong before they get to the next level in their business?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different directions to go, but the first thing I would say is let's define a system or define a process. The way I define it is just if then. So that's the foundation of everything. If this happens, then I want this outcome to happen. So that's my way of defining a system. And the way Better Than Rich defines a system, our company is a series of processes, policy. This my business partner created this one. A systems design is processes, policies, and technologies that aid in the goal of the business. Processes, policies, and technologies that aid in the goal of the business. That's like the sexy term. The way I simplify that down is just the if then, if this, then that. And then what's the SOP, the documentation of that, or the playbook of that. And then who's executing the play. And then what technology are they using to execute the play? So an example would be my email inbox management, let's say, is one system that needs to get managed. We get all these inquiries of people filling out contact forms or even calls coming in or whatever it is, just like inquiries. So let's just call the system we need is inquiries. Okay. If this, then that. If an inquiry comes in, then I want them handled personally, authentically, with speed, with intentionality, and ideally giving them a great user experience. So if it comes in, then that's what I want. Great, that's the if. Then we need a playbook. What is the SOP? What is the documentation? What do we say to them? How, what is the time? We want it fast, but like in how many seconds? So that's the documentation. Then it's the who. Who is executing that, who's building the infrastructure, who's building the who's handling the phone call, or who's building out the automations. And then the technology is, what are we using? Are we using go high level to build that? Are we using dial pad? Are we using simple texting? Are we, what are we using to execute this now defined system that we just created in this hypothetical scenario? So that's the first thing as a foundation that I would like to just start there. And then of course we can build on from that, but I'll kick it to you before I just continue to rant on, the next phase of what I would talk about when it comes
Yes.
to systems.
I love the clarity in what you just shared, Mike, because actually I was on your podcast a couple months ago and you think this way. You're like, "Oh, do you have a framework for that? Do you have a system for that?" And it was actually a good mirror for me. I'm like, "Oh yeah, like I actually need to have ABCs down because it's so much more memorable and so much more it's so much easier to implement." We talk about what's the principle of the thing and then what's the practice, and we can all talk principles all day, but when it comes time to actually put it into practice, the system, the framework, whatever it is, and you said documentation. Say that one more time. The documentation, the who, the technology.
So the way Better Than Rich describes it, or the way I
Yeah.
describe it?
Yeah, your partner, what they came up with, I love
The
that.
Better Than Rich is a series of processes, policies, and technologies that aid in the goal of the business. That's how Better Than Rich defines a system.
And then you were talking about if, and then this, right? If
If
that,
thens,
then
yeah,
this. Then you said the documentation, the who's going to execute, and then the technology to actually make it happen.
correct.
I
Yeah.
really, really love it's like those are the 3 steps, right? That constitute a system so that you've got the principle of like who we want to be, how we want to operate, but then getting it super practical in terms of application. So I just wanted to double click on the documentation, who's going to be doing it, and then the technology that's necessary. And when it's with the technology, perhaps it's to your point of maybe it actually is a policy or a process, or is that kind of where those 3 could fit in after the documentation and the who?
The technology for me is different than for other people, but technology is always my last one.
Mm.
I built a multi seven figures sales organization on Google Sheets. So
Mm.
like I didn't have fancy technology. I didn't feel like I needed it, so that's usually my last one. But my business partner, he was a part of like the mobile gaming space and helped scale a company in the mobile gaming space, and everything was technology in India. So it's just like our backgrounds are a little bit different. That doesn't mean which one's better or worse or right or wrong. But just that's why I kind of like say I add the team in there, because I would say I'm an expert at delegation to a who, and
Mm.
then the technology comes after the who, where he
Mhm.
would usually find the technology and then plug the person to run that tech. So it's just a little bit flipped for us. But um, I just technology is evolving, and for me, it became a distraction somewhere in the last several years, where I always would question, is this the right tool? Am I using this one right? Oh, the next shiny object. Oh my goodness. Then am I using the right one? Then I got to move to this one. And I got myself caught up in this like overwhelm unintentionally of like, am I using the right technology if there's one better out there? So that's why I was like, let me really take a holistic view here and say the system, the playbooks, and who's executing the system is more important to me than the tech, and then we'll plug the tech in last. That makes the most sense. I don't even know if that answers the question, but I think it's important to just make that as context, because especially for home service professionals, those that are serving homeowners and guys in the trades and this type of avatar, like our dads that we've talked about, I think that puts them at ease a little bit. Like they don't need the shiny object to build predictability in their business.
To be honest, that's exactly where I was gonna go with that. I think when you said you built a multi seven-figure business in a Google spreadsheet, it's like, "Oh, that's so much relief." You know? I don't need to be fancy, but I do need to be clear. And
Mhm.
to that point of starting with the documentation and even documentation after, what do I even want in the first place? So getting really clear on what do you want for the customer experience. I'd actually like to talk through, for those of you who heard Mike's initial episode in season 1, we talked about this to an extent, and so I'd like, just for a refresh, the customer journey. Can you go through that? Because we have to have such clarity around what do we want the experience to be for those we serve at every single touch point. So how do you define the customer journey?
So the way I'm defining, I have two parts. The way I defined customer journey in the past was very simple. It was attract, convert, onboard, retain. So that was like, again, that was a Better Than Rich framework. That's what we taught a lot of entrepreneurs. Maybe 200 or 300 entrepreneurs. We taught that framework: attract, convert, onboard, retain. Um, in the recent of what I've been working on right now, I've been just really trying to dial that in for the home services specifically. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit more right now because that's kind of who the audience is that we're speaking to. So the client journey, the way I'm defining it now, is phase in 4 phases. So the 4 phases is phase one is still under attract, but it's from cold to connect is what I'm calling it. And cold to connect is they have no idea who I am to I've connected with them on some sort of conversation. So that's phase one. And we could go into these a little bit deeper if it makes sense to, but that's phase one. And then once we're connected, okay, we're having a conversation. Phase two is from talking to walking. And what I mean by that is we are in conversation now, and now I'm walking the job site with you. We're on the job site. You're showing me the project. You're showing me the job. You're showing me what needs to happen. So that's phase two, which is also the convert phase, but that's phase two. And then phase three is a little different. I nuanced this one, which is phase three is no to next. Phase three is no to next because I have found that most people in the trades and home services, they're not raised by a sales environment. They just like give an estimate and it's like, here's the estimate. Let me know if it works for you. And then maybe I'll send you an email or a call at some point in the future. So no to next is a predictable sequence that we want to take that homeowner through or that end user through that nurtures the relationship for 3 weeks. Having a 3 week is my proposal that your estimate I gave you on site only lasts for 3 weeks. And if you want to decide within that time frame, the value or the proposal that I gave you will still exist. After 3 weeks, we'll have to renegotiate new terms, and then we pump them into a next sequence, which would be a nurture sequence. So that would be phase three. And then phase four is if they buy, then or when they buy, would be a buyer to fan. It's the maximization of the lifetime value of the client. That's everything that happens after the point of sale: reviews, referrals, ascension offers, service agreements, all of that falls under buyer to fan. So those are the 4 phases that we have um, really crafted for this season of where we're at as a company and serving home service professionals specifically.
Mhm.
And that kind of still falls under the retain piece of the old model of attract, convert, onboard, retain. But I really did the 4 phases: cold to connect, and then talk to walk, and then no to next, and then buyer to fan. Those are the 4 phases, and each of them have little drop down menus underneath them.
Good. I do want to dig into this because, frankly, there's systems for every single one of these parts of the process, but we have to know what we want the experience to be in order to then create the predictability. There's something, actually, my word for this year is predictability. But in order for me to get to that point of being predictable, I actually need to be disciplined. So there's the what precedes predictability is so often this point of, okay, I got to sit down and do the work. What do I want the experience to be like? How do I want to show up? How do I want them to feel when they engage with me? So let's assume everyone has taken the time to do that. And then when we look at this, the systems that would fall in place here, before we talk about the actual system for every single one, I'll have a preliminary question. So the first question for the attract, cold to connect, where this is really connecting with them at some level. I'd love to really give an example of what you mean when you say that, just so that we're all super clear about, okay, that's exactly what this phase looks like. And then we'll talk about systems there.
The way I describe it is it depends on the medium, right? Because I could connect with them through text message. I could connect with
Mhm.
them on a phone call.
Yeah.
I could connect with them through a self-booking link and they're watching videos of me. So the medium is not that it's irrelevant, but it's important to know that we can connect through different mediums depending on what the client wants. So for example, in the home services space, if they booked an appointment and self-scheduled, it was 11 p.m. at night, and they went to my website. They're like, I'd like to have a technician come into my house and look at my hot water heater tomorrow, and they self-schedule. I want to connect with them through videos. So we'll have a video sequence that just says, hey, thanks for booking a call. I'm the owner. This is my company. I appreciate your trust in us. We're going to send a technician out. You'll get some notifications between now and the time your appointment is. And here's what to expect once we get to your house. And maybe there's a second video that shows up the next morning or something that's like, hey, it's me again. I just want to let you know, if we did choose to work together and you chose to hire us, this is kind of what it feels like to work together. And then depending on when the appointment was booked, maybe there's a third one that's a budget framing video that says, hey, it's me again. I just want to let you know, some people always question, like, how much does it cost to, like, hire our type of service. I just want to give you some frameworks. Our service is usually like 1 to 3% of the home, the value of the home. And here's why. This is, something like that. So obviously everything's different, but at least gives you an idea of what the pricing would be. So again, we're here to serve. Thanks for trusting us. Something like that would be a video sequence if they self-scheduled or as soon as they schedule.
Mhm,
It's a phone call, then obviously that one's pretty easy to understand that we're connecting with them. But if it's an AI chat bot, there's at some point we want to let AI transition to a human if they don't self schedule. So the AI could be trained to have a really good, authentic conversation. But if there's ever a point in time we need a human to kind of step in, I think it's
mhm,
important to be able to do that, just to pick up the phone and give them a call or engage in a text saying, "Hey, you were interacting with an AI, chat that got us to this point, but I'd like to step in. My name is, Susie, and I just want to make sure that we're answering your questions properly. I could give you a call if that's okay, or we could keep this conversation going here on text," right? Like that's what I mean by text. So it depends on the medium on how they're like engaging with the company. But I want to get them into a conversation. And
mhm.
then once they're into the conversation, then it transitions from talking to them to walking the property with them.
Mhm. So good. And I love the examples you gave there, specifically in regards to how the customer is engaging with you. Yes, like the tech side, but also what time of day? What time are they actually reaching out? Are they reaching out within the window of you all are open? Was it a missed phone call and they left a voicemail during your open office hours? Did they fill out a form? Did they call while you were closed? Like there are those different, to your point, if then logic, and then having something very curated for that. And for people who are just getting started, Mike, what would you advise? Let's say that they're doing it all themselves. They're doing it all manually. What would you say is the most kind of foundational system that they could put into place right here, right now, if they don't have a big fancy call center?
Well, I mean, our whole philosophy right now is using a marketing tool. I know it might go against what I said about technology first, but
Mhm.
like we firmly believe that having some sort of marketing CRM on the top of funnel is really critical because it functions for a cost effective way when it's built properly. And that's obviously what we specialize in. So I'm a little biased here with my response, but having some sort of way that it reduces human error because if I have like old school, I have my office manager just sit there that I'm paying 8 hours a day to do this work, and it's all human, and it's very reliant on that one person. Maybe it's their wife, or maybe it's their sister, or something like that. That's okay, but if we do the math, we're paying them 25 an hour, 8 hours a day. That means they're
Yeah.
getting $200. That's 1,000 a week. So that's $4,000 a month. When a Go High Level CRM is put into place for $100 a month, and then obviously needs to be set up and managed. Now that office manager, instead of them having to field all the inquiries, they can like be supported by this technology that is engaging with the homeowners or the end users in this case. So um, again, I'm kind of sidebarring a little bit here, but one of the things that I'll go in the sidebar and then you can bring me back over.
Perfect.
One of the things I really love is I would invite the person listening here is we need to be able to know when somebody comes to our website, and we need to know how, if somebody comes to our website, we can get them to raise their hand easily. And there's two different types of people that are coming to your website. There's someone who is ready to give you their money or book a time, and then there's people who are like seeing if you're the company for them. And there's one that's very active, ready to move forward, and there's one's a little bit more passive. And oftentimes, guys in the trades and the home services, it's usually geared towards the active. Get an estimate, book now, get a
Yeah.
quote, contact us right away, which is great. But however, if we didn't earn their trust, understanding the 5 eyes of marketing, there's 5 eyes of marketing, another framework. And those 5 eyes are ignorant, informed, intrigued, interested, invested, and we're taking them from ignorant to interested. Essentially, we're saying you don't know who I am, but you should be interested in what I have to offer you. We're missing the informed to intrigued, and that's why having some sort of way for them to raise their hand passively is a really good idea. And that's where like a coupon might come into play. It's like, hey, if you're not ready right now, when you are ready, give us your email address and we'll give you some information. We'll also give you a promo code or a coupon or a discount or something for the future. Or here's our lookbook. It gives you an idea of all the work that we've done for past clients. Check it out, see if it falls into what you're looking for. Here's a couple of case studies to show you of what our client satisfaction looks like and what others have to say about our company and why they chose us. Or, you know, here's like the 10 steps on how to do it yourself. So if you don't want to hire us to do it, here's 10 steps on how to fix your garbage disposal without bringing us in, right? Something that can get them from informed or ignorant to informed, and then informed and intrigued. And once they're intrigued, now there's a little bit of that trust that's built. Now
Mm,
we could take them from intrigued to interested. And in that email nurture sequence with whatever they opted in for, we're sending them videos and emails and text messages saying, hey, did you get a chance to look at the resource I gave you? Just a reminder that promo code is always available, but I'm here if you need me. You can respond to this text message if you have any questions. So all of that automation using your word predictability, it's authentic, it's human, it's time, but there's no human error because it's built once and it doesn't rely on Susie to remember, oh, I got to send that text message to John today, or I got to, follow up with that person. So it takes the human error out of it, which allows us to engage and have authentic human relationships with our prospects,
mm.
which builds trust, which is what we need to do in a cold to connect phase.
So good. I'm so glad you started with CRM. I mean, that really truly is the answer to, okay, what's the number one most foundational thing you can do especially if you're doing it all yourself. So the CRM, customer relationship management system, software, some place where your customers live. And really to your point, Mike, about the manual process, I came in, and this should be encouraging to those of you who haven't done this yet. I came in to be fractional chief marketing officer for a $34 million company, and they were inputting every single lead manually. People who called and people who filled out a form. The form was being sent to a Gmail, and then they manually typed everything into their back end, what they called their CRM was custom built, and it was, so I think that that's partially why it was tricky. But a $34 million company did not have this automated, which is exciting because one, it shows how far they could make it without having it automated, but then it also shows how much further they could go. Like they actually went through this process. We helped them set up the automations and then also helped them set up data capture to be able to then, Mike, they were then able to be acquired, and then they were able to acquire 4 other companies within a span of 2 years. They grew from being 34 million to 100 million within 2 years because of what they were able to do. But there's no way that they could do that without without alleviating some of that is so much work for the call center. That is so much. It's called, like, we kind of think of it as like swivel chair tasks. Like you pick up the phone, you answer, and then you swivel your chair, and then you start putting in all the data, versus having the technology in place where it all is kind of manually put in, and then you have the person who's just doing some minor editing. It's like, oh, that was, it's an R instead of a Y or whatever. So I'm so glad you started with CRM, and you said go high level. That's a CRM that we really like too. And again, it's just the way it works is that you set it up so that if somebody puts in a form and fills out the form to contact you, it's automatically being put into like your house of all your past customers, potential leads, and then you can email them whenever you want, you can text them whenever you want. It's so easy, but it's all stored accurately because you said human error, and there's a reason why these folks feel so much pressure, is because if they do make a mistake, they can lose the entire client if they have one digit wrong or one thing off. So it's really a relief to give our team and ourselves, especially if we're small, the ability to automate that. So I love that you started with that, because from there you can build, and from there you can set up an automated text message saying thank you, saying, hey, we got your message. I love, Mike, your recommendation on having a video sequence. What is the very first thing that happens to the customer once they do contact you? What's that next step? Are we building trust with intention? So thank you. I loved your answer there. For number 2, moving to the next step of the customer journey, which is convert talking to walking. So this is, they've scheduled the appointment, and now you are moving from kind of almost like being behind the screen to physically with you. Can you talk a little bit about that in terms of giving an example, and then also what's the kind of number one system you recommend?
100%. I did want to satisfy my curiosity. You said a $36 million company. Do you have any idea approximately the average order size, like of the services that that company was doing?
Yeah, the lowest service was about 1,800.
So, and that just, I just wanted the listener to get that and myself as well.
Mm.
So it kind of gives you an idea because it's like if I listen to $36 million, it's like great, but they're doing $2 million contracts. That's only
No.
18 clients, right? I had a feeling that was going to be the case. So with an
Yeah,
$1,800
good
average
point.
order size to build a $36 million enterprise on the spreadsheets, that
Mhm.
gives a lot more context to the listener of like,
Yeah.
okay,
Having
I,
hundreds
I
and hundreds of projects every year.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a feeling, so I just wanna make sure. So, coming back to the question, talk to walk. So, the talk to walk, okay, we talked, we had a conversation. I personally like a discovery call model for luxury home services. It's obviously different for emergency home services because emergency home services, they're like, "Just fix my thing. I don't really care about you. Just do good work." But luxury services, if meaning like the average ticket is like 5 to 50,000. So if it's like a 5 to $50,000 roof
Right.
or outdoor lighting, landscape architecture, you know, something along those lines, custom pools, custom baths, you know, those types of things, we do want to build a relationship with them. But if it's like fix my air conditioning unit or my heater or, you know, my dishwasher's broken, like I don't really want to build a relationship with you. I just want you to do good work. So it is kind of important, a little nuance there. So we like a discovery call model for the luxury services.
Mm.
If they're working with a homeowner that's probably living in a $750,000 plus home and they want a 5 to $50,000 type of thing, what is a discovery call? It's a phone call or a Zoom beforehand to do two things. Number one is to qualify them before we send technicians or salespeople or anything out to their house. So that way, you know, we're not wasting resources on looky loos. You know, they're just trying to shop on price. They don't really care about quality work. They just want the show is the cheapest thing. They want to get like these free designs and, you know, they can tell us to go kick the curb, right? Like we want to establish some qualifications, but then we also want to establish expectations of what's going to happen if they choose to work with us. And that's what that discovery call does. It's maybe 15 or 20 minutes. There's an outline that we like to, you know, encourage our anybody that we work with and engage with to follow. And the outline's real simple. It's like, this is a pre-frame. Hey, thanks. I could give, do you want me to go through that or is that not needed? Okay. So like a pre-frame. So it would sound something like this. So like Christine, thanks so much for, you know, booking the time with, you know, Marvelux Landscape Lighting. We're super excited to have you. I just want to let you know this call is really easy. I'm just going to ask you a couple quick questions about your project. I'm also going to just tell you a little bit about how we work and how we do things. And then if it's a good fit, we'll set up a time for one of our experts to come to your house and walk your property with you and just learn a little bit more about the project. And ideally, we should be able to give you an estimate right there on the spot if possible. But
Mm.
today it's just going to be a pretty casual conversation. So first, tell me a little bit about your project. What has you looking to do that right now? So that would be like the pre-frame. And then it would be more of like the discovery, asking questions like, tell me about your project. What are you looking to get done? Why is it important to you? What's your
Mm.
urgency? Like all the questions that we might ask like later, we just want to ask right now. And then then we'll go into a budget framing. So then it's after all the discovery, I asked you all these questions about your project. I'm like, cool. Based on all the information that you gave me, more than likely a project like that is probably going to be between this range and this range. Obviously, I have to see it and we custom build some stuff. Is that about what you were expecting? And if they're like, whoa, no way, that's not what I'm expecting, at least I could have the conversation now before we go spend resources driving there and all this stuff. If
Yeah,
they're like, yeah, that's about right, it's like perfect. Then after
so
that
good.
phrase, now we're going to go into starting to schedule the on-site, and the scheduling the on-site looks like something like this where it's like great, well it seems like we're aligned up, seems like everything is in sync. So what I'd like to do is set up a time for one of our professionals to walk the site with you. We just want to make sure that all the decision makers are going to be present while we're there, so that way we could try to get everyone's input, and also ideally be able to start the project sooner than later because you said that's important for you. So that way we avoid delays. So when we find a time right now, can we just make sure all decision makers will be present? So that's like a pre-frame to help support the
Good.
closing process. Once we get to that, and then the next step would be finding a time, and we book the time inside the CRM, inside Go High Level. So even though I'm manually booking the appointment, I fill out a form with their information, and that will trigger a reminder sequence for their appointment before we get there, which triggers a reminder sequence with videos that kind of pair with the conversation that just happened on the discovery call. It's like 60 to 90 seconds of what they just heard. There's a concept in sales, free early and often. So early and often, because expectations must meet their experience, or said differently, their experience must match their expectations. So I want to create the expectations for them. I want to control the narrative for my client, and I want to take them through my sales process versus them taking me through their buying process. There's always a narrative there, and that's essentially what we're doing in this talk to walk phase. And then once we get there, we have our process. What's the process? What do we do when we get to the door? We like to have like some sort of pamphlet or something that we give to them, like a leave behind piece that they're holding while we're doing the walk. Ideally, depending on the service, we'd like to try to have an iPad and show them on the iPad, hey, just so you know, this is how today's going to go. We're going to step one, we're going to walk the property. Then step two, I'm going to take all that information. I'm going to go to my truck. I'm going to come up with an estimate or a proposal. You're going to sit at the table. I'm going to have you fill out some stuff or maybe watch a video of some stuff. And then step three, I'm going to meet you at your kitchen table and then I'll give you the proposal. So I'm already creating an expectation, showing them some pictures on the iPad. And then on my iPad, it's like, cool. So let's walk your property. And then I'm asking questions of what I would usually do. And the technicians are already experts at that. And then it's like, cool. So I have all my questions answered. Ideally, I'm filling out all these responses inside of either the CRM, but ideally, we have it separated. I know I'm talking a lot here. I'll come up for air in a moment, but we like to use an FSM, a field service manager, while we're doing the talking and the walking, because a field service manager is where the marketing engine of the CRM passes hands to
Mm,
the fulfillment end and the operations side. The operations side, we like to use like a Jobber or a House Call Pro or a Service Titan or a Service Minder or Leap or any one of these for the field service management. They do a better job, in my opinion, with the dispatch. They do a better job with the proposals and stuff like on the fulfillment side. So that's typically what we have found. So they're taking all those notes in FSM. So that way, when they get to their truck, boop, 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 they take all that information and it could easily spit out a proposal from that iPad on the notes that they were taking. And then the last piece of this, and I'll kick it to you. Then they go back to the kitchen table. They show them the proposal. While they're in the truck, our little secret sauce is we like to create a video that is, again, controlling the narrative. That's like, this is why people choose us, testimonials of what people have to say about using us, and then something that says a little seed plant about our referral program, depending on the industry. So that way we at least seed, we get reviews, we get referrals, and why a lot of customers choose us. So it's controlling that narrative in that video. And I could go into more, specifics there, but that's what we like to do. We get to the table, we present it, we have an outline of how we present it, present the offer, and then we let them know it's like, this is our deposit program. That's what you'd put down today, and then you pay the rest later. And last thing is a triple option close. We like to do 3 options. The first option, this is everything you said you wanted. The middle option is what I recommend. I know you said you liked that, but it was a later thing. That's the middle one. I'd recommend just ripping off the Band-Aid doing that. But I also wanted to show you a dream option. This is like if you were just like dreaming, I put something together for you just so you could see. So there's the dream option. That would be this price or this much monthly. There's the low option, which is everything you just wanted, your basic, but then they put a recommended one with those extra couple
mhm.
things that you liked. Out of those 3, which one are you leaning more towards? You like the recommended? Let me show you exactly what comes in the recommended. Great. This is the deposit. But does that work
Mm,
for you? So this is like a very predictable sequence in the talk to walk phase that is like step by step sales process, predictable, documented, iPad. That way I can take someone who's not very sales trained in the trades, but give them a sales process that they could rely on with how having to
mhm.
be a salesperson. Um,
Yes.
and we're seeing some really cool success. One story is like we had a guy who had he had like 2 sales and 13 on-call visits. We built this for him, and the next ones he went 8 for 8 on the next one. So it was like bang bang. It was really cool.
Wow,
So
that's
so
huge.
we you know it's fun to kind of like take people through this and install this into their business for them. All right. That was a huge long rant, Christine. So
I
let me
l
kick it to
Mike,
you.
I love it. I love it so much. I'm thinking a lot about folks who do not have the process and system in place to provide real-time estimates. For the majority of home services that I speak with, and B2B as well, a lot of times it's like I actually need to go consult with the back office, especially if it's a luxury piece, because and not saying that some luxury pieces are not emergencies, and also not emergencies are not also, and I'm saying luxury is in high ticket. It's
Sure.
expensive. It's expensive to get a new foundation. It's an expense to put in a waterproofing foundation, but or system. But here's the thing. If you've set the expectation and you need both people there to make the decision, and you really want to be as accurate as possible, how can we, and I'm saying this rhetorically for you and I to consider for our businesses, and I'm thinking about, our family. We actually don't have um the most even elaborate process for billing, with a painting and finishing business, but it's not mobile. It's at my dad's desktop in his office, and then with the other estimators. It's like it's all physically present, not able to be taken with you in the car. So I think that this actually really does get us to the next. It's a system that does get us to the next level. I think of the CRM as being a foundational system, and then the ability to take the system with you for giving estimates in real time. Man, isn't that so, so helpful? Because now, Mike, what it does is that they're choosing between three options that you're providing versus three competing businesses. Like, do I want to use, the Charles Smith with, Donahoe, or do I want to use John Deere from Crisis? It's like it's no longer which company. It's rather which service do I want to go with, which package. And so the ability to provide it in real time while you're there, and then they get to your point, sit at the kitchen table and be nurtured through these videos. Man, isn't that brilliant? I
And
love it.
I I do wanna click on this, that we built this for Atelier, and it's an interior design company. Shout out to Laura, Laura Rockland, the owner, and she's put a lot of trust in us, and we really
Mhm.
love working with them, and they do a great job. But for her, she pushed back on me. She's like, I love what you're saying, but there's 2 things. Sometimes, number 1, it's not a good fit, so I don't actually wanna give them an offer right on the spot, because it's a two-way street. Like, yeah, I want their business, but, like, I also wanna enjoy working with them. And
Yes.
then number 2, sometimes we do, like, very sophisticated, like, CAD drawings and whatnot for their interior design and, like, schematics, and show them this, and I like to present it to them, and I don't think I could do that in, 15 minutes in the car. Sometimes it might take me 90 minutes. So, what we built for her, is it's always a second call visit. So what we built is, at the end of, we sit at the table, we're like, this is, I can't give you the ballpark right now. We do the exact same process, but we schedule a Zoom meeting that's for the proposal. And then we created a sequence leading up to the proposal to
Good.
still do the same thing, but now it's a scheduled meeting. And she only schedules that with those that, number one, she likes and wants to work with. And then number two, it just helps her buy back the time, so she doesn't feel rushed to do it like in her car
Mm.
that's in the driveway. So we modified it. So I say that because what I just shared, there's a system and then there's also an exception,
Mm.
and we build for the 80%, and then we make exceptions for, when it makes sense to. And I think that's the beautiful thing about business, right? There's different plays in football. There's a play for fourth and goal, and that's a different play than, first and 10. And we have different playbooks that we can kind of pull from, and we have to be flexible, but we also want to have predictable at the same time.
I love it. I love it. And to that point, you're scheduling the meeting before you leave rather than almost like leaving it up to chance. So like
Oh
hopefully
yeah.
we'll be able to get in touch, and hopefully we'll, so I love the system of scheduling it before you leave. It's all about predictability, really. And the result of being predictable is peace. You're clear, there's no chaos, They experience someone who's really grounded and somebody who's like, "Oh, this is just," it's like you feel safe. It's like a kid, they actually perform better within the confines of boundaries. And so if we're coming in with our system that's just, man, it's so minted, they the customer feels the sense of safety and peace in that, like, and then that also sets the expectation that this is what the job is going to feel like, because the initial aspect is so well executed on. If someone's, and I had someone else here on the show, they were talking about early on in their cleaning business, they'd be running a job, taking calls. Like, "Hey, I'm on a job, I'll call you back." It just doesn't feel as, peaceful for the homeowner, now I get to have the expectation set on what the experience is going to feel like if I work with you, and that this initial first 2 phases is so important. So, I love that, Mike, having the exceptions to the system. So, moving on to, the 3rd step, no to next, a predictable sequence that nurtures. This is kind of like in between that time that they're making the decision. Can you talk about that along with an example?
I kind of alluded to that one a little bit. This one is overlooked. It's the follow up. It's the kitchen table. It's real simple. This one is we like a 21-day sequence that has the estimate, that's the proposal that's inside the emails. There's emails and text messages, and we have I actually have a resource. I haven't given it to anybody, but like if somebody wants it, I can give it. Like we're going to be launching it in like maybe March, but it is a 35-page client journey resource that I just finished. I just haven't released it yet, but it breaks down like the scripts and the steps and exactly what it's supposed to look like. I don't know. I could definitely share my screen, at least pull it up if you want me
Yeah,
to do
let's do
that.
it.
But
Thanks, Mike.
um,
I love that. Yeah, if you feel comfortable with it, y'all, we're getting
yeah.
a sneak peek into genius. I
So
love
this
it.
is um, I'll pull up that resource, and you'll have to forgive me if I am not savvy on your
I know we're both practicing here. I think, Mike, I've only ever done this one other time where someone shared their screen, so this is fun.
okay. Well, I'm up for it. Let me. So it's called the client relationship journey playbook, and let's see if that works. Is that working right now?
Yep. All right, so now I am going to do this. There we go. All right, take it away, sir.
So this whole resource, like I said, it's a full resource that to fix the 7 biggest leaks in your talk to walk phase. That's the whole resource. But one of the things that I do here at the bottom of this is um, I have all these scripts that I created of like handling the objections, but this is how you end like the not now script as an example. So final script after the 21-day sequence is ended. Oh, here's the 21-day estimate follow. Okay, this is where I wanted to be. So this is what it looks like. So day 0, they get an email and an SMS delivering the quote and outlining the next steps. Day 2 is an email with social proof and reassurance. Day 5 is an email, what makes this different. Day 7, an email and an SMS, client stories and quick check-in. Day 10, an email plus value versus price reframing. Day 14, an email with an SMS, gentle deadline and reminder. Day 18, email with what most people regret education. And day 21, an email and SMS final check in before closing the file. And these are just some examples of what those would look like. So an email
Mhm.
would say, like, your quote and what happens next. Thanks again for the opportunity to help with the brain project. Attaches your custom quote. Here's what happens next. Review it. We answer any questions. And when it feels right, pick a date and we'll get you scheduled. And why others choose us. Here's a day 2 example of an email that you could just plug in. So this resource that I created is something that I think any home service professional that wants to just like support the no to next phase.
Right.
You could say you don't need a new brain to run a simple automation. It's just really easy. And I tell them it's like just go high level. And then even having this resource, this is how you set up the basic, that you triggered the estimate and then wait 1 hour, wait 2 days, wait 3 days. Like here, this is how you set it up inside your go high level. It's really, really
Mhm.
simple. Um, and then just some testimonials of some people who hired us to build this for them. So, and
Nice.
then they could schedule, some sort of audit. But I'll stop my
Oh,
screen
boy.
share. I don't know if that worked, but so ultimately, that should answer the no to next phase. It's a very predictable. And then after that, after the 21 days, we just jump out of the sequence and we put them into like a typical nurture, like a newsletter. Maybe it's every, holiday or
Mhm.
every couple of months or something like that. Just set, circle back.
So good. Mike, I would love if you're up for it to come back on the show and move through that once it's popular and not even popular, but once it's live. Once you let the cat out of the bag. Thank you so much for giving us a sneak peek. I love the visual. It's so easy because you hear it and it's like, wait, this is all rather elusive for those of us who haven't ever done stuff like this before. But man, isn't that nurturing so important? It's all about delivering on the experience, you know? People are so, especially with luxury products. Got disconnected. I'm back. I saw my internet was like, "You're reconnecting." So sorry about that. But it's experience is more important than ever before, especially in the age of AI, where there are a lot of automations and people are all sounding like each other. So you as a business, the more custom and personalized we can be in the way that we engage with our leads, especially before they actually buy with us. It's so important. So now let's get to the fourth and final phase.
The fourth and
uh,
final one.
the fourth and final one, we've been leading up to turning them from a buyer into a fan.
I want to just say one thing. I just we didn't click on this at all, which is totally cool. But I did make just a key hire, three key hires. But one of the things that one of the hires said to me, she said, when I made the offer to her, I sent her the offer, but then I also recorded a video, just like
Mm,
explaining like that's very personalized. Like I'm looking forward to working with you. And she said that in my alignment session I had with her today before the onboarding tomorrow. She's like, I've been she said how old she is in her late 20s, 28 or 29. She's like, I've worked with a decent number of companies. Never have I ever gotten a
mm,
video from the owner like welcoming me. And she's like, what an
yeah,
awesome touch. And I was like, I send videos all the time. That's just like that's just what it's a part of the thing. But I think it was kind of cool to kind of hear that even on the other
yeah,
side of bringing someone into your culture, into your organization, because that's a representative of you and how you want to operate. So
mm,
again, another episode, another time, another conversation, but let's go to buyer to fan. And I guess that kind of ties in where we want to create fans. It's not just like, give me your money, I'll do my job, and then, we'll part ways. Although in some cases, maybe that's what the homeowner wants. And that's fine. But again, we want to take them through our journey, not theirs. So we want to add value and meet them where they're at. And meet them where they're at means if I provided you a 5-star experience, oh, here's a better way of saying it. If I did not provide you a 5-star experience, please let me know what would make it a 5-star experience.
mm,
If I did provide you a 5-star experience, then I would love for these next things to take place, right? So that's kind of the ideology of the buyer to fan. And once they are a 5-star client and then we know that is, again, there's the sequence, the same another sequence that we take them through, and that is um I like to give them a resource in the first email once the job is done. So for our outdoor lighting businesses that we work with, it's like, here's some 10 tips on how to maintain your lights after dark or something like that. For we have a custom home builder, right? Like we put something in there that says, um, here's all like the vendors of choice that we like to use in case you want other stuff done in your home or something along those lines, like, which is just a helpful resource once the job is done to add value to them. And then the second email piggybacks off of that one. It's just like, yeah, oh, by the way, I just wanted to make sure you saw it because sometimes things get lost, something like that. And then maybe like a week later, it's something like, um, by the way, maybe it's a couple days later. It's like a give asking for a review. Here, just click this link. If you gave a 5-star review, that makes it easy for them. These are emails and text messages. And then after they give a review, it's like a branch. If they gave the review, then ask for the referral, something along those lines. And then we have a
mhm,
referral process of like, by the way, if you would like to make some introductions, click a link, enter their information here. This is our referral program. Then the person they refer goes into a custom sequence that says, hey, name, You were introduced to us from name. We wanted to give you this free resource and a promo of like, if you wanted to check us out, here's our lookbook, here's some of our work, kind of ties them back into like the top of the funnel, but in a like a custom authentic way with the referrals. And then the last piece is our philosophy is setting up an 11-month visit. So with the home services, we like to use an 11-month warranty or a 12-month warranty for labor. So all the labor is covered for 12 months. So we want to get back in their home at month 11 to just double check to make sure everything is still good as an extra service. And then while we're there, we'll offer them a service agreement. It's like everything's good. Just, if anything changes in the next 30 days, let us know, but everything's good. Or, hey, that bulb is out, or that's actually not working. That's under manufacturer warranty. We're going to take care of that for you.
Nice.
Um, However, this is my last visit unless you want to like pay our fee for service calls, like, and that could add up. So instead we have a service agreement. We have a maintenance program that most clients and most homeowners sign up for. And these are the things you get. You get 10% off materials. You get this every visit, blah, 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 blah. And that's our agreement. We have a small, medium, large agreement, depending on like how large the project is that we did. I think this one probably fits for you. It's a couple $100 a month, or it's a couple $100 a year, whatever it is. And then we sign them up. And the goal would be, could we get 70% of every job that we complete to sign up as a service agreement
Mhm.
for providing them like white glove extra experience? They don't have to go all the way through the journey again. They just have like more of a direct line, more direct experience, and we're the provider of choice. So it is like a sales presentation on that 11-month visit. And
Yeah.
here's what we have found. This is the best part for you, Christine, but also the listener. We did this with Elegant Accents. It's a landscape lighting company in Tampa, and they got back into doing the sequence. They got back in front of 192 homes of people that they already sold
Wow.
to on the 11-month, right? And in the 11-month sequence of nurturing the relationship, plus the actual visit, they ended up selling it was like over six figures that they sold. It was like $102,000 in 9 months, but that's 10% of their annual revenue. They were doing $1 million. They added on 10% with no extra ad spend just by
Mhm.
getting back in front of people that already bought from them. And it was a
Mm.
9 month of tracking this because
So
people
cool.
were like, "Can I buy an audio system from you? I saw you guys do that," right? Like, "So, can I add on this thing?" And then one of them was even a gift. They were like, "Can I buy, like, holiday lights for my kid? Would you guys do that?" It
Oh,
was
I
just like
love
by
it.
staying in contact. That's what I mean by buyer to fan. It's
Yeah.
like building this relationship with them, um, in meeting them where they're at according to your industry. No one wants to hire a plumber. Like, I don't want to see my plumber because that means something's not working. But how might I be the plumber that they're like, I don't really need a plumber, but I saw that person. Maybe I'm interested in like a water filtration system. I don't know. Maybe I do want soft water in my house. Maybe I'd be
Yeah.
interested. Right? Like, so how could we be the contractor that they're like, I could find a use for this person because they're in front of me? Maybe. So,
Mhm.
all right.
So good. I love this, Mike. So many people don't pay attention to the bottom of the funnel. It's like, okay, we're done. Bye. And there's so much extra lifeblood to squeeze from the people that we already have done business from. Like, there's so many more ways to serve and to give to them after we've established that element of trust, where it's so much easier to resell than to do the cold sell. And so this is really, I really want to lean into this, the bottom of funnel, y'all, because whether it's okay, what are the questions people have been asking us that could be relatively simple to add as an additional service to our current suite? What are other people in the industry doing in terms of our competitors? Do they have additional services? So, for example, one of our clients that we were working with, they added in a gutter repair system because they would add in redirecting the water away as part of their waterproofing system. But once they're up there, it's really easy to just clean the gutters. And that's also an additional touch point to come back and revisit the house. And hey, while I'm here, let me check. the different parts of your house to make sure it's fine. So, what are the things that would help get you back in the door? In addition to that, maintenance program is so, so, so helpful. There was, I drew this little schematic just as a visual for one of our clients and encouraging them to just think bigger in this way. And it was like, right now, your customer life cycle, the lifetime journey is about 12, maybe 12 weeks, if not normally like 6 to 8 weeks. Then they're done. You could extend this to be years upon years because not only is your client your customer, but the home is a customer. Now you've got two completely new verticals if you set it up so that you actually are in relationship with them and you find out that they might move. Well, now you can introduce yourself to the new homeowner and you can follow them with them. You can follow them where they move. So there's so much here. So Mike, I absolutely love what you're doing. We do Foundation First is paid advertising where we bring the leads in. But man, that is such just a small piece to the puzzle. Everything you're doing is so critical to actually move them through the customer journey where we're delighting them and we're building the trust that allows for the experience and also the referral side. It's much cheaper to do this in the long run of what you're doing than to pay for a new lead every month. There's a place for that for sure. But what you're doing, I think every single business should invest in. I would maybe even risk saying before spending money on ad spend, like, get your back end good.
I, you know, we one of the slogans that we're gonna have for this new offer when we launch it and everything is gonna be, "You don't have a marketing problem," right? Like,
Yes.
that's like the big so, it's like, "You don't have a marketing problem." I have
Yeah.
to maybe you could even help me with what's the next part of the dot, dot, dot. It's like, you have a trust problem, or you have a follow-up
Mm.
problem, or you have a relationship problem, but, like, if it's one
Yeah.
none of those really land 100% because it's like, "You have a relationship problem." It's like, what does that mean? Like with my wife, right? Like
Yes.
that's you have a
Well,
trust problem. I don't have trust issues, right? Like it's like there's I don't know what the rest of the hashtag is or like the like
Mm.
the catchphrase, but it's like you don't have a market problem. We know that, but it's like what? So what are
I
you
think
trying to
it's an
tell me?
experience problem, Mike. I think you have an experience problem. You're not
What do
creating
you
an
mean?
experience.
I have a ton of experience. I know how to do my trade. I'm really good at fixing the thing. I have a lot of experience. My team has a ton of experience, right? I'm just being like tongue in cheek, but
That's
like
a really, really good point because it's not clear enough. That's so true. And really when you lean into it, it is that when they come in, there's so many broken steps.
and hey, in 50 minutes, I could do a great job at explaining what I do. But if it's like 6 words, it's like
Yeah.
what's the saying? It takes an idiot to make something simple complicated, and it
Yeah.
takes a genius to make something complicated simple. Right? So that's kind of the phase that's why I haven't like updated our website and all this stuff because I
Yeah.
really wanted to make sure the messaging is dialed in
So
towards the
good.
right person, speak directly to them, and we'll probably have this ready to launch. But that's kind of the phase that we're in. And one of the things I'll click on is how we do this and how we operate.
Mhm.
If any listener is curious on this, we do a war room style where we spend 2 to 3 days in person to do this so we can move fast. So that's why a lot of companies like to hire us because we do an immersive 3 days building it out custom for them and with them versus 1 hour here, 1 hour there, 1 hour there. It's like, let's get in the room, custom build everything on the first phase and the first two phases first, get that done, install it into the business, done. Now, if you want the other stuff, great, we could do that next. But let's build this in phases,
Right.
get it implemented, get it done, get it moving in 3 days, and then we'll maintain it for you if you want us to. But like that's going to be the new offer. I know you
Good.
didn't ask me, but I feel it's important to just like capture that because I want other businesses to do something similar. That's what
Mhm.
people want. People want implemented fast and correct. And if we as service providers could do that,
Mhm.
I think we're going to add tremendous value to the marketplace. And I think that's what most people want.
I completely agree. Mike, I'm so grateful for what you guys are doing. It's so important. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. I think sometimes it's easy to think that. It's like, oh, emails, oh, taking care of the customer in this way. It is so important for the longevity. One of the things that we were looking at for one of our clients was, all right, how many projects are actually canceling? That was a question nobody had ever asked. 11% of all sold jobs canceled in that year.
Wow.
11%. So this is to your point of retaining. It's not just retaining them long term, but it's retaining them through the longevity and lifetime of the project itself so that they don't cancel.
Mm,
Especially with those luxury items where it is a longer turnaround time let's say you sell something in the winter that needs to be done in the spring. It's like the retention throughout the entire lifetime of the project. So,
it's
Mike,
great.
thank you so much. I loved our conversation. I'm not surprised. Thank you,
Well,
my
thanks so
friend.
much. You asked good questions, so thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Y'all, go visit Better Than Rich and be on the lookout for this document. But for those listening, go ahead and revisit the visual of this so that you can actually see what Mike shared on his screen. It was so helpful. And so with that, thank you all so much for joining us